Content warnings for this episode's movie and discussion thereof include sexual assault, violence and gore, and domestic abuse. And as always, expect spoilers.
You're having that dream again. We are the emissaries from the void. I feel like I'm sitting down for a therapy session.
Kind of.
Good lord. We didn't even do our fucking intro. What's up, everybody?
Yeah, welcome to Emissaries from the Void. I think I gotta turn mine up because I double bagged it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Got
Do you wanna-
two socks on this microphone.
Do you want to back up? You want to start over?
No, it's fine.
Okay. I'm Ari,
And I'm Tristan.
and welcome to Ari Suffers for your amusement, everybody.
But in a different way.
Yeah, this wasn't like little man suffering. This was like true, honest to God, like having a full fucking breakdown, triggered. And honestly, look, it's, if anything, this is just proof that Ari is mortal, because like I can watch most horror movies and not even flinch. It doesn't even bother me, honestly. Like Gore, all that stuff. Like,
yeah.
But this movie fucked with me.
Yeah, it gets in your head for one thing, and then has graphic violence and has a lot of like fucked up relationship stuff.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's the stuff that got me.
Yeah.
I was like crying on Tristan's shoulder after watching this movie. We almost didn't make this episode, but I calmed down and we're chill. It's fine.
Yeah.
We can talk about it.
And to be clear, like, so we're not like just hyping this movie up or whatever. Like it has to do with like some uncomfortable parallels.
Yeah. No. This movie just was real. It was just too real. But it's okay. We're here. We're going to talk about it. So, what movie did we watch?
Yeah, this movie is called Antichrist by Lars Van Trier. Our first Van Trier that either of us had ever seen, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And he's known for making some fucked up movies.
And honestly, up until the very end, when the stuff that really triggered me happened, I was here for it. I thought like I got it is kind of where I was at. But then at the end, it just really got me. But honestly, I think that's to the film's credit. I mean, art that affects you, right? It's art. We're talking about it. So some basic breakdowns of this. This movie had a budget of $5 million and only made $7.4 million at box office. And honestly, I am surprised it made that much money because I can see exactly why people were like, no. Especially because I think a lot of theaters refused to run this movie. I remember reading something about that. Don't quote me on that, but so we have a trigger warning that's going to start this. Off. You already heard it, audience, but just to double down, just all the trigger warnings. Just this movie doesn't give a fuck about how you feel. This movie's an abusive boyfriend. It's abusive girlfriend. This movie, like
toxic relationships.
Yeah. Well, like this movie breaks with all of the standard like film decency, basically. Like most horror film, even horror films who are like edgy and like we're breaking the rules and we're doing all this stuff, they'll still cut away from some of it. Like they won't.
Yeah, there's stuff in this movie that you would normally only expect to see in like some obscure grindhouse extreme horror type.
But it's filmed with a realistic gravitas to it.
Yeah.
That makes it like, because a grindhouse film, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. It's grindhouse.
Right.
Like if you watch like, what is it, Death Proof or whatever, or you know what I'm saying? Like you're like, oh, whatever. Like the gore in that, like it's so over the top and absurd. But the gore in this is so real
Yeah.
Like, we're not just talking about gallons of blood being poured on things. We're talking about like real gore that just like
Content
looks...
warning for genital mutilation.
Oh God, yeah. Female and male genital mutilation.
Yep.
Genital mutilation, and also like just creative violence. That's all I'm gonna say before we get into it.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, so before we get into the plot synopsis, as is tradition,
Of course.
Tristan, what the absolute fuck was this movie about?
So, to me, Antichrist is a tale of two people becoming unmoored from reality, or at least like what we think of as like a sane, rational reality, due to their grief. In some ways, it's kind of like the opposite of a Dark song, because Dark song, like, she was going through the hard process of confronting and dealing with her grief, and in this one, they're just getting dragged by their ankle through the woods by grief. And
while thinking that they're in control.
Yeah, they think they're in control for a little while, but
Oh, yeah. Okay. I feel a little differently about it.
okay.
I think that this is an exploration of the different ways in which society expects men and women to process their grief. Willem Dafoe's character is the representation of how masculinity is expected to deal with grief, which is to be cold, displaced from it, and to approach it with a clinicality to it.
Yeah.
Whereas she is grief-stricken. She literally faints when they're on their way to the funeral. And it's an exploration of the toxicity and dangers of the societal gendered expectations of how to process grief.
Yeah.
And it's like simultaneously critiquing that and then also exploring the baggage that is in and of itself part of that. Especially with the twist at the end that we get to, we'll get into later. That to me shows that a lot of misogyny is based on this assumption that women are these conniving, self-focused creatures that don't care about anybody but their own gratification and their own safety and their own feelings. They like, that's like how I read it, is like the film is a diluted fantasy of the patriarchy that has been being used to mock that patriarchal lens.
Yeah, there's kind of some parallels with Inland Empire.
Yeah, honestly. I concur with that.
Yeah, there's kind of a similar sense of like that, like, long history of patriarchal abuse, although it's not dealt with as directly in this movie.
Inland Empire is exploring the social aspect of that shared trauma, whereas this is exploring purely the emotional consequences,
like internalized.
of it.
Yeah.
Like Inland Empire is a very externalized
Yeah.
exploration of it, whereas this is a very internalized exploration of it. Like we get, honestly, I love the art direction in this film so much, because like we get this thing where she's like having an anxiety attack, and then we cut to her in a dark space where we're seeing the camera.
Hey listeners, the recording dropped out here for a little bit, but Ari is describing the way that the movie visually shows us the symptoms of anxiety or panic by cutting to the character in a void and showing close-ups of the veins in their neck pumping, or their breathing patterns, trembling hands, sweat, that sort of thing.
While Willem Dafoe's character is exploring those very things, like he's talking to her about it, and then we're seeing a visualization and
the
like
increased pulse. We're like looking at her neck and like Yeah,
And that's
breathing.
the movie uses that like a couple of times.
Yeah, it calls back to it. Yeah.
And I'm never watching this film again, so I'm not going to go back and check. But I think we get at the end we get it focused on Willem Dafoe's character. I know
I
what
believe
the
so.
fuck is his name. Like I don't know anybody's name because they don't say each other's names in this.
Right.
Oh, they're unnamed. They're unnamed.
Okay.
Okay, so they don't have names. That's okay. It wasn't just me.
Well, then.
It wasn't
yeah.
just my problem with remembering names. They literally don't have names. So we'll just call them Will and then the actress's name Charlotte. So we'll just call them Will and Charlotte.
Okay.
So Will focuses on the like logical, we're going to work through this pragmatically, but at the end of the film I think we get a cutaway of him having the stuff in the darkness. It's very blink and you miss it. I don't know if that's exactly what happens, but I feel like my brain at the very least has like impression to that.
Yeah, there's maybe this is separate, but there's also like shots of the backs of each of their heads, and I don't know if that was like directly tied to those symptoms or if it was like symbolic of like their own internal, like kind of like the glow in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. That's kind of an odd
very strange
comparison to draw, but
I kind of get where you're going with that. Yeah, no, I definitely think like I think that the whole point is that like we get an exploration of her emotions. It's from her perspective, and then at the point in the film we'll get to, it switches perspective and it's now focused on his perspective. Like after she assaults him, basically, like we're now focusing on his feelings and his emotions.
Yeah,
which I thought was really clever because it's like it is literally the movie like hits you over the head with the change of perspective, the same way that he gets hit over the head.
Yeah, that's true.
Because like and it's not like as subtle, like, or it's not as like intense. It's like very subtle because like we do get a point where like she's asleep and then we get his perspective as he's exploring things and learning things.
Yeah.
But like, so it's not exactly one for one.
Right,
but
right.
The emotional heart of the movie changes.
Yes.
Halfway through.
I agree with that.
Or like, actually it's like 2/3 of the way through, but like the last third of this movie feels so much longer than it really is.
Because it's
the film
kind
makes
of
you live in it. Yeah, the film makes you live in it.
Yeah, so I think another way to say it is like we spend roughly equal time with the characters for the first 2/3 of the movie, but Willem Dafoe is so like closed off. He's not really letting us, the audience, into his emotional state.
No, I read it a couple of times, just because like it's clear that he's grasping for control. Because, you know, like he has nothing good to say about this other doctor that we don't see.
Right.
But like she's taking a lot of meds and she's bedriddenly depressed and she's not getting better fast enough. And I think what it is like he's grieving in his own way. And he wants to take control of her grief because by conquering her grief, he conquers his own. That's the arrogance of his character.
Yeah.
And honestly, like homie, she needed those meds.
Oh yeah. All right, this is a good time to get into like a whole synopsis because this is one of those movies that I don't expect everyone to be down
don't do
to
it,
watch.
Everybody. On an objective lens, it is by far not the worst horror movie I've ever watched. That would be Sallow, but
which many people refuse to ever watch.
Yeah, so like when I was like a teenager, I had a friend who was like really into like shock content, and he was like, "We're gonna do this, we're gonna watch it." So we like made our way down the top 10 list of most disturbing horror films. It was before Antichrist had come out, I think. But still, the point was like, good Lord, have I seen some disturbing shit?
Yeah.
And, you know, honestly, maybe it didn't affect me as much back then because I hadn't been through like a life. I'm like twice the age I was when back then. Like I'm literally twice the age. So that has something to do with it. And also just like my values have changed as a person, I suppose. But it's not the most disturbing horror film I've ever watched. It gets its claws into you, and it's just, I've thought about it. Like, audience, we've already trigger warning you. So I've thought about someone ejaculating blood for like the last couple of days. I keep thinking, I went and had to get my blood drawn today, and that was what was on my mind.
Yeah.
Like,
yep. And that's not the first time this month that I've seen that in a movie, but I've been watching some like Gorotica and necromantic and that shit. So, and
like typically gore stuff doesn't bother me. Like it's just the context.
It's the combination. It's the combination
context
of this like extreme shock horror with like really strong emotional hooks, and like you were saying, like the filmmaking, the gravitas of the filmmaking. Like,
yeah, that was a really good word for me to use there, actually. No, but like it's the fact that she's sexually assaulting him.
That too.
That's what, like, and to like, God,
after she knocks him out cold.
Yeah, like
by hitting him in the nuts with a log.
Yeah, hitting his erect dick with a log, so that the pain causes him to become incapacitated for like 5 minutes of screen time, and she does horrible things to him in those 5 minutes, and then he wakes up and he like screams in agony, and I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm surprised you didn't wake up. Like, I don't even know if it's physiologically possible to be that incapacitated, but this movie makes me believe that it is.
Right.
Like, it really sells the pain that she just did to him, because he doesn't wake up while she does a bunch of other shit to him.
All right, let's get through this synopsis.
I'm sorry. Ari's fixating. Okay. Synopsis.
Prologue.
Yes.
Black and white, ultra slow-mo.
They fucking
penis in vagina.
Yeah, that was the first thing to surprise me about this film, is that like when I'm talking about like how a film doesn't like this film abandons all of the normal candor that like most films, even shock films, have.
Yeah.
The fact that they just show P and V straight out the bat, like without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
That this movie already sets you up like we're not gonna hold. There's nothing sacred in this movie.
Exactly.
Again, there's no problem with P and V. I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
But I just mean like
you just don't expect a hardcore porn shot
unless I'm watching fucking porn.
This wasn't an A24 film, but it could have been. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Honestly, definitely has a lot of A24's DNA in it for sure.
Okay, so we've got all the slow-mo of Willem Dafoe fucking his wife, and also they have a kid.
You fucked my wife.
You fucked my wife.
Oh, God.
Anyway, they have a kid, a toddler, and he is able to just unlock his like baby gate.
Right, yeah. Like basically a confluence of contrivances makes it so that everything possible was removed from his way, or was removable from his way, in order for him to go to the window and literally just walk right out of it. Like, honestly, I even like Darwinism at this point. Like, I literally made that joke, like, because the first half of this movie we were joking a lot because it hadn't really like fucked with us yet. But like, you notice the shift because we stopped joking about it at a certain point. But up to like when the kid first jumps out of the window, I know that this is like supposed to be like a really impactful scene, but I'm like, oh come on, this kid had a death wish at this point. Cause like,
it's one of those things where like anytime a movie tries to present you with like the ultimate tragedy, and it has this operatic music playing, like
I almost felt like the film was mocking it. Like the film was like, like the tone. I didn't feel like the movie was taking it seriously in that way. I think like the movie was juxtaposing this ecstasy that was happening over in the with the fact that like this kid was jumping out of a window, and they show the kid hit the ground, and like
the way like that close, but
but like the way they film it just makes it feel like it's mocking it. Like this is like look at this, look how meaningless life is because you're so caught up in your own shit.
See that.
Like
interpretation.
That's how it felt. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that, but like I just mean like that's what I felt the film was saying.
Right.
And honestly, after we watched this film, I had said like I don't like what this film is saying about things, but we'll get into that.
It does seem to be very cynical. So anyway, their kid jumps out the window while they're having sex, and then we have a funeral procession. We see the mother faint, and then we see them both in the hospital, and that's where Willem Dafoe kind of takes over because he's a therapist, right? Professionally,
not a doctor though.
Right. And he's like, I think they're giving you too many pills. I'm gonna dump these down the toilet. And this really reminded me of Neil Breen.
Yeah,
a bit.
When you said that, I was like,
Findings.
First, I had to like stop for a second when you said that because I was like,
yeah.
But it was very much like a
yeah. Except
don't dump your pills down the toilet, y'all. Take them to the pharmacy and have them disposed of.
Well, yeah, that is good advice. But also, when Neil Breen did it, that was his own medication. Definitely don't do it on behalf of your wife.
Yeah. Like, basically, this movie is the character of Will breaking every single possible ethics and, like, just client rules. Like,
yeah.
The thing is, okay, so my mom is a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
And like the very first fucking thing they told her was don't perform psychology on your own family and friends.
Yeah.
Because you're too close.
Yeah.
Like Will wants to be this pragmatic and detached person who just wants to like swoop in and like solve all her fucking problems. But you can't do that with your own goddamn wife.
Yeah. Wildly irresponsible.
Yeah,
but
he's
that's,
very irresponsible.
That's his hubris. That's
honestly,
leads
both
to
of them are really irresponsible in their own ways.
Yeah, for sure.
We get more of hers as we learn some stuff.
Exactly. So his idea is to take the two of them to their like cabin in the forest.
That's true. However, there's an important bit that you missed there, which is that because so after the epilogue, we go to the first act.
I think it's grief.
It's just grief. Yeah, it's grief. That's right. It's grief, then it's despair, then it's pain. So act 1 is grief. And we start off with him visiting her in the hospital, and it's like we get the information that she's been there for like weeks and weeks, and she doesn't even know what day it is anymore because that's how drugged up she is. And honestly, they say like, oh, my reaction to this is atypical.
Mm-hmm.
But given things we learn later, honestly, I don't blame her for beating herself up like she was, but we'll get into that. The point is that he tries to take her home and do all of this shit with her in their apartment, but it's not working. She's beating her head on the toilet. She's fucking breaking down. She's like forcing him to have sex with her.
Yeah.
Honestly, like
that's like one of her primary coping mechanisms is sex.
Which, given what we learn at the end, that makes sense.
And apparently Willem Dafoe is just always hard.
Yeah, I know. He's like always ready to go. Like, goddamn. Like, and also there's a CGI dick in this movie, and it's
what was it? CGI?
It was CGI at the because remember we talked about how Willem Dafoe's penis is too big for fucking.
Well, that doesn't mean it's CGI.
No, but like it's definitely CGI.
Okay.
Not like at the beginning. The beginning's real, but like when we see it later, it's definitely not real. I can tell. But
okay.
Ari has examined the pixels. Look,
the real ones don't squirt blood like that.
Oh God.
Anyway, let's get through this.
So that, this is the passion of Ari right now. She starts talking about things, and he starts trying to figure out what is at the top of her fear pyramid, which, this is some culty bullshit. That's like the way the process he's trying to go about this is so weird. But like he's like, well, we got to find what's at the top of your fear pyramid and then do exposure therapy on you.
Yeah.
And so he's not able to determine what's at the top of her fear pyramid, but he's able to determine that this cabin in a place called Eden is close to it.
Yeah.
And so that's why they go there, is because he determines,
because she's afraid of it.
Because she's afraid of it. Yeah. And he does this meditative exercise where he has her like lie down in the grass of Eden, and like, which, there are ticks in that grass.
Yeah.
Well,
the first time it's like a thought experiment.
Yeah, but like she's like, lie down in the plants, and like I was like, well, that's a weird reaction to have. And then we see that there's like lots of ticks, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's why she doesn't want to lie down in the grass.
Yeah.
And she becomes the color green or something like that, like to be saturated by Eden. I am not trained as a therapist or a psychologist, but I have some critiques of his method here.
Right.
He's basically depersonalizing her and making her become one with an object of her fear, which I don't really know how well that's going to go. And obviously it does not go well for them. Yeah. That being said, she had a lot of the baggage that causes the problem to begin with. So I don't know how much is his fault and how much is just inevitable bullshit that they were going to have to face. But besides the point, do you want to talk about the rest of Act 1?
They get to the cabin. He does more like exposure therapy where he like forces her to walk through the grass. She's afraid of the grass itself.
So afraid that like she's like trembling.
Yeah. She's deathly afraid of nature, which they are immersed in. And over the course of their like, exploration of her feelings and stuff, we get some flashbacks to the other time that she stayed at this cabin with their son, and she heard a child crying and looked all over, but their son was safe and not crying. It was just some disembodied voice of a child. And that was one of the things that, like, I guess led to her, or was symptomatic of her mental decline in this environment. She was also writing a book called Gynocide.
Excellent metal band name, by the way.
Yeah. And it's about like the history of like witch trials and like women being put to death.
General brutality against women throughout history, but with a focus on the witchcraft element. Yeah.
And so we see eventually her notes on this book, and some of them are like printouts and like illustrations that she's kind of sketchbooked together, and some of it's her handwriting. And as Willem Dafoe flips through the pages, we see that the handwriting becomes looser and larger and more scrawling until it's like barely legible.
Which, I don't know when we're going to bring it up again, but like I had compared to the recovered journal of several people who had like killed their families. There's like a big thing from the 70s where some guy had killed his family, and then they recovered his notebooks, and as it proceeds, it starts out really neat and fine like hers, and then by the end it's literally like that, where she's like slanted and like writing on the sides of it, and it's very almost illegible. So
it at the end it looks like a child, like maybe she gave it to her son to finish.
Just like fully lost grip. Lost her grip.
Willem Dafoe, we also get some glimpses of maybe some cracks in his like clinical, scientific, analytical facade. A fox speaks to him, for example.
Chaos reigns.
Yeah. Fox tells him that chaos reigns, and
a fox that's eating itself.
Yeah. Another important thing that he finds along with her book or manuscript, whatever, is an astrological chart with some constellations that aren't part of the regular canon. And they're called the Three Beggars. And it's a deer, a fox, and a raven.
Yes.
And we've seen... We see these at various points in the movie. The deer has a stillborn baby.
Yeah, very much a stillborn
baby hanging out of the back of it. And they're also labeled grief, pain, and despair. I think the deer was grief.
Yes, the deer is grief. Despair is the fox. Because despair, chaos reigns. That's the subtitle. Like, it's the only one with a subtitle. And then the
raven is
the
pain.
raven is pain. Yeah. And we can kind of see that with the presentations of them.
Yeah. So there comes a point where the wife says, "I'm fixed. I'm all better now."
Should have listened. Should have taken her and went.
Yeah.
Honestly. Because, like, if you had been like, okay, that's good, let's go. And then she started resurfacing her symptoms, then they could have potentially come back and revisited it. But his insistence that they stay is his downfall.
Yes.
Because, holy shit.
She has a mental break and thinks that he's trying to leave her, just abandon her in this place that she's terrified of. She attacks him, sexually assaults him. This is when she beats his dick with a log, and then takes like an auger drill, drills through his calf, unfastens a grindstone, and like puts it through that hole and puts the bolt on the other side,
and then throws it away so that
and then throws away the wrench
so that he can't free himself. And like, when I talk about creative violence, I'm like, that's probably one of the most creative
soft shit.
yeah. John Kramer is like, okay.
Whoa. Exactly.
I want to play a game, but you crazy bitch.
Exactly. So this is the real like turning point of the film.
Yeah, because
Willem Dafoe is now he has to flee his wife with this thing on his leg. He manages to get far enough away from the shed so that when she comes back, she doesn't know where he is. And he's forced to hide in this foxhole under a tree. And she tries to dig him out and ends up collapsing the thing on top of him. But seems to like kind of come out of her like whatever meltdown state she's in, digs him out for real, and he's alive. And then, gets him back to the cabin and starts telling him like, when the three beggars arrive, someone has to die. That's just the way it is. And she's also desperate for some kind of comfort. She tries sexually assaulting him again. It doesn't go that well. She's like, please just hold me. And then
she cuts off her fucking labia.
Yeah. She takes a pair of shears, and we have to watch.
We see it, by the way, audience.
Yep.
This is not it doesn't cut away. It doesn't just imply it. No, we see it slice off, and then we hear her scream, and we see her walk away in pain.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal, but yeah, she seems to have come to the decision that, like, first of all, she's evil. She's decided that she believes, like, in her research of like the awful things that men said and like reasonings for putting women to death, she's like internalized that. She believes she is evil, and she sees like the source of her pleasure that she's been distracting herself with as like the source of that evil, and it's the reason that her son died. And so she cuts it off, and then Willem Dafoe manages to find the wrench because the raven kind of helps him out there, and he frees himself, flees the cabin, and then we get a couple of surreal shots that are a little harder to explain.
Notated as the epilogue.
Yeah.
And so we go back to the black and white.
Yeah, go back to black and white for the epilogue, and he, I guess, sees a vision of like dozens, if not hundreds, of women just walking up the hill towards him, and presumably towards the cabin.
And that's how it ends.
That's it. That's the end.
Yeah, we get like a shot of him being like overtaken by the women, not like they're jumping on him, but just like they overtake him in the frame in the shot,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
that's it. That's the end of the film.
Yes. All right. Now we can kind of go back and unpack some of that.
So one thing to note, that just to like reframe it all, she saw her son jumping out of the window and didn't do anything.
Yeah.
She was mid-orgasm and she just didn't.
Probably.
Well, like from her, when she's talking about it, that's
Yeah.
what, like, it's not that, like, okay.
The way that it was presented, it felt ambiguous to me whether that was like a literal flashback that it was revealing the information that she saw him like walking out the window, or if that's like the emotion, like how she felt.
Yeah, and I agree with that interpretation, actually. This movie has... This is probably one of the first movies we've watched with a truly unreliable narrator. Like, if we were reading a book,
Yeah.
I would say that this book had an unreliable narrator and that we
Yeah.
can't really take anything that happens at face value. The only two things that we can take as accurate are the fact that their son died and the fact that Will tries to take her and treat her himself.
Yeah.
Those are the only two things we know for certain as objective facts about what's happening in this movie.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everything else, it's so focused on the malleability of perception that you can't really take anything at face value.
Yeah.
The movie does not delineate between dreams and between visions and between what's supposed to be real events.
Yeah.
Because like Willem Dafoe is having that like focus, like sees that fox and it's like, oh, chaos reigns. And then Charlotte calls him from off screen. So we're like, oh, is this a dream? Because at first I'm like, oh, this is a dream sequence. This is a dream sequence. But then she calls him from off screen. And then she
Yeah.
and then she's like, oh, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm just
Talking to this fox.
fox. Yeah. And we're like, oh, okay, there's nothing, you know what I'm saying? Like there's,
Yeah,
it's one of the-
yeah. So was it a vision, a hallucination, dream? Like, yeah. Very ambiguous.
So if we can get that out of the way and just kind of accept that all of this is warped perception, it's very telling that Charlotte does not interact with the three beggars. Only Will does. She doesn't see them. She doesn't touch them or interact with them. But Will sees the deer while she's resting on their way to the cabin to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
And then in the tall grass later, Will sees the fox,
Yeah.
chaos reigns, and she calls to him off screen. And then the third one he finds in the foxhole.
Yeah. He actually digs it up. This is a buried raven.
Yeah. Some hatching DNA in this a little bit.
Yeah. They're a recurring theme of trying to kill a bird.
Yeah, he's like, because like, oh, it's so tense. Honestly, I really respected the tension of the scene because like he digs this bird up and then the bird starts cawing and screaming and he bashes the bird's head in because the noise starts like alerting Charlotte where he is.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, I killed it. And he like breathes. And then the bird starts freaking out again and he can't get this bird to stop cawing.
Yeah.
And then that's how she finds him.
Somewhat comical, but also tense. I think if he hadn't been the one to dig up the bird, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But it was kind of a problem that he created for himself. Take some advice from this. If you ever crawl into a foxhole, just leave it be. You don't have to go digging around in it. Don't dig up any birds you find.
Yeah, if I had a nickel for every time a horror movie protagonist has dug up a bird and then struggled to kill it, I'd have 2 nickels, which is a lot.
But the bird was pain. So like these are all like kind of aspects of grief, even though one of them is literally labeled grief.
Well, it's like grief brings despair despair brings pain. And then pain in itself brings grief again. Like, it's kind of like how I feel like what the movie is saying is that like these things lead into each other. And that when the three beggars arrive, someone has to die. Like, what it's basically like getting at is that when you experience grief, it will lead you to despair, and then that will lead you to pain, and then at the end someone has to die, quote unquote, meaning that like a part of you has to die, or you have to let go. Because like, remember, like there's the idea of like the two deaths, right? Like the idea of like when you actually die, and then when someone thinks about you for the last time. And like despair is propped up in part by an inability to let go of something that has been lost. Or it's because, okay, so like, for example, if you are at peace with someone passing away, despair is not an emotion that you're going to feel. You feel despair because you have not yet let go of that, and the absence of them is hurting you. The pain that you're feeling from the despair is being caused because you have not let go or accepted or made peace with the idea that that person is no longer here. The process of getting better, of overcoming grief, is the process by which we naturally reach a point where we have made peace with the loss. And a person who's not capable of doing so gets stuck in the despair, gets stuck in the pain. And that's what Charlotte is. She's stuck in the despair and pain because she has not yet let go of her son. No one's, it's not wrong that she hasn't. I mean, honestly, if she had just been in the hospital for a few more months, she probably would have been okay.
Right.
But like the tragedy of this movie is that Will's arrogance prevented her from truly addressing the grief. So she projects that grief onto this idea of the three beggars. And then she says someone has to die because she's not capable of letting go of her son. So she, honestly, I feel like she wanted Will to kill her. I feel like because when she's being strangled, she doesn't resist.
Oh yeah, that's something I left out of the synopsis.
Yeah,
he fucking strangles her,
and she doesn't resist. She doesn't fight back. She doesn't claw at his arms. She doesn't. She just like looks in his eyes and just like lets it happen. Yeah. So it's almost like she acknowledges that she wants to die. She can't bear the grief, so she would rather die than deal with it.
All that said, does it mean something that Payne, the bird, is the one to like kind of lead to Willem's rescue? Because it basically, she throws the wrench that can unfasten his grindstone leg under the house, and the bird starts clawing under there, and he breaks through one of the boards and finds the wrench immediately. Is he like getting in touch with his pain that he
pain is a tool?
Yeah.
Right. Pain in a vacuum. Pain is your body sending you a signal that something is damaging it. So if you can learn how to embrace pain and listen to your pain, then you can liberate yourself. Like, I think that the message of that is that trying to deny pain and fight pain leads to more suffering. She finds him because he's trying to quell pain. He's trying to kill the raven.
Right.
And his actions there, because like his actions there are what lead her to find him and then cause him more suffering. And it's only when he learns to just listen to it, the cawing is not, when he's not trying to silence the cawing, he's listening to it, that he finds his escape. And she's not willing to address her pain. She wants to cut herself off from it. She cuts off her pleasure in the end because she thinks that by removing the temptation, she will have paid penance for what happened. But the thing is that we're not creatures that pay penance. We are creatures that learn. So if you focus so much on punishing yourself for things that have happened and you don't learn from them, then all you're doing is propagating your suffering. Because, religion has imparted into us as a society the idea that you must pay for what you've done.
Right.
And there's a vindictive part of all of us that likes the idea of retributive vengeance.
Yeah.
But the truth is that, self-flagellation is not going to heal you. It's not going to redeem you. The only way to grow as a person is to understand that your failures are learning exercises, and that she could not accept that she was so caught up in the moment that she let her son die. Maybe she did see him jumping out of the window. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she put that in her mind because she has to blame herself. She must pay a penance. She must enact a toll on herself. She's thinking of it in a religious mindset. And she even says, nature is Satan's church. Our natural instinct. And that really spoke to me, because it's basically what she's saying there is that our natural instincts are a source of evil. Nature is Satan's church means that our physical needs, our sexual desires, our physical desires, our hunger, our thirst, these are what make us do evil.
Yeah, we have an innate selfish drive.
And my response to that is so fucking what? Guilt over what you've done is healthy in a certain context. If you hurt someone and you feel guilty about it, that just means that you care about that person. You care about what you've done. But you don't need to pay a penance so much as you just need to learn from your mistakes. Because if you hurt someone if I hurt your feelings one time and I felt guilty about that and I learned from it, what did I do wrong that caused to this? That's worth more than me being oh, Tristan, I'm such a horrible piece of shit. Oh God, you should cut me off, or you should
punch me.
Yeah, just punch me and get it over with. I deserve it. That's pathetic, and it's not healthy, and it's not productive. It's the true growth you experience as a person is when you acknowledge that you are going to fuck up, and it's just a part of the human experience. There's nothing innately evil about mistakes, even if they're horrible. The death of a child is a horrible thing, but mistakes like that happen, and there's not always someone to blame.
Exactly. Yeah. And the reason I said punch me, hit me, because that is something that comes up. She literally demands that Willem slap her as hard as he can during sex, and when he doesn't want to, she's like, well, then you don't love me.
And he falls into the trap because he does eventually. And he does, and then fucks her under a tree, and then the tree is full with the corpses of other women.
Yes. That's
which so metal. Honestly, the imagery in this movie is so impactful, and I've been thinking about that image a lot since we watched the movie, and it's not bothering me to think about it. It's just I'm thinking about just the message of that image of this heteronormative sexual experience being taken under a tree, which is a growing thing. So it's almost like this encounter, this sexual exchange is happening under a growth that's built upon the corpses of all these other women.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to contextualize that, other than just the general imagery of this film being focused on how society treats women and how women internalize that misogyny.
It's very much about internalized misogyny, especially with the wife's character, who pretty explicitly has internalized these like regressive views about the nature of women. She says like a crying woman is a deceitful woman. So it was like
something like that. I don't remember exactly, but I know
it was
exactly
like
what you're
vaguely
saying.
poetic. So she was obviously like quoting some old source who was like deceitful tits and deceitful hair and like some bullshit like that. And she says that at a point where like she starts crying into his shoulder, and then she like kind of switches. So it's kind of like she is having a normal grieving process, and then like that internalized misogyny causes her to like view it, like kind of twist it around on herself.
And you can even apply it on a more general scale as well, of like, we've like begun to, as a social group, begun to equate leaning on others as a parasitic practice. We're a US podcast, so we're talking about US culture here. But I know for a fact I have lots of people who feel like when they are showing emotion, it is something to be ashamed of because they are putting baggage on me, is how they feel. They're burdening me with their feelings.
Right.
And it's completely healthy to cry on someone else's shoulder. Like after this experience of watching this film, I cried on you.
Yeah.
And that was not inherently a bad thing. That was just like I needed someone else to like just ground me because I was so triggered by this film. But I have people I know who would see that what I've done as a demanding practice of you, taking something from you that you
Right.
or whatever. And it's like, so that when she says like a crying woman's a deceitful woman, it's like, okay, clearly that's coming from a source of, especially here in this culture we live in, which is the culture that birthed this movie, this Western idea of like individualism to the point of like you can't lean on anybody for your emotional well-being. You have to like handle it all yourself. Also coupled with the misogyny that society has towards women. So it's like a double whammy there, because it's like, you know, there's nothing inherently wrong about grief.
Yeah.
There's nothing shameful about grief. But so much of like the messaging of the world right now is that like, if you're not sharing positive vibes, then you're not, you're like you're bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of double whammies, there's something I want to address that like kind of adds a layer to the guilt that she's feeling, because in some of the flashbacks it's revealed, or I guess Willem Dafoe figures this out from like looking at the Polaroids that they have at the cabin, that the son's shoes were consistently on backwards, and this came out in an autopsy.
That it was like deforming his feet.
Yeah. She consistently puts the wrong shoes on this kid's feet. And they show a brief flashback of her doing that, and the kid is like crying because of it. So like when she hears that, she's like, you know, I want to say that was a one-time mistake. I'm pretty sure she said like, I wish. Which implies to me that she has some sort of like something like a postpartum depression.
Yeah.
Or like
it's postpartum depression, and yeah, she looks miserable in that flashback.
Yeah.
And again, we can't rely on the narrator of this, but like,
of course. But it does seem to imply that she like doesn't love her son in the way that like she knows a mother quote unquote should. Like she doesn't have those instincts. So yeah, it's like not just like this one isolated incident where she was distracted and their son died. It's deeper than that, and like she's been carrying this guilt for longer, and this is just kind of like the final result of what she feels like is everything that's wrong with her as a woman.
Also, like, I feel like she's heavily schizo-coded as well. Having one of my exes being incredibly schizophrenic, I saw a lot of that in her. And I think that has something to do with it as well, as like the idea of like she went out to this cabin with her son. She had this whole episode where she heard this crying child out in the wilderness, and she had like a whole freak out episode about it. And to the point that it affected her so deeply that she couldn't even go outside at this cabin.
Yeah.
And Will's response is like, well, it wasn't real.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, what kind of fucking therapist are you? Like, you
yeah.
Clearly you know your wife is schizophrenic. Like, come on. Like, it's very difficult for people in that position, because I remember my ex hated taking her meds because the meds had all these side effects that made her fatigued and bedridden in a lot of ways, and like she slowly stopped taking them without telling me. And I learned the hard way that when a schizophrenic person's mood improves because they stop taking their meds, it's inevitable that they're going to have a freak out.
Yeah.
And to the point of abusing you, the point of hitting you over the head with a log, the point of sexually assaulting you multiple times. It's
yeah.
The level of irresponsible actions on the count of Will. Because, like, the movie makes you hate her, how she acts. The movie is like, look at this bitch. Like, she's crazy. But it's Will's fucking fault.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's exploring the misogyny of society by showing how this woman has this whole crash out and hurts him, but he did it to his fucking self.
Yeah.
If a person is having such bad grief that they don't even know what day it is in the hospital, and your response is to take them into an isolated place that they are afraid of, you need to have your license revoked. Will should not be practicing therapy because if he's doing this with his wife, who he loves, allegedly, how is he treating his other patients?
Yeah. Is he even more callous with them?
Because, like, he does give her decent advice.
He does.
At certain points. So it's like, fear will come. The fear will come. You just need to, like, learn how to, like, absorb the fear and just accept that you're going to be scared, and that's okay. Which is good advice for people, but not good advice to give to somebody who's off their fucking meds.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like we should say that, like, this movie isn't showing bad therapy in the way that a lot of Hollywood movies do, where it's clear that they just, like, don't understand what therapy is.
Right.
Like, I just watched Hitchcock's Spellbound recently, and it's just full of pseudoscience and weird misogyny. And
Will is just a bad therapist.
Yeah, he's bad because of the decisions that he makes, not because of the advice that he gives.
Like, because, like, having been in a lot of therapy in my life, I was like, oh no, I at the start I was already like, this is not a good idea. We should not be taking her. Yeah. But when he's like, hey, immersion's the only way to really deal with trauma, I was like, okay, yeah, that's true. But, like, can we not just, like, kick her off the fucking deep end? The reason he's a bad therapist is because he overinflates his own capabilities, not because he has bad ideas. But immersion therapy needs to be done by someone who is not emotionally invested in you, because they need to be able to objectively regulate your exposure. Like, if you're sitting there in a therapy office and they do some regression therapy on you to, like, peel back the layers of your trauma and force you to confront it, and they do that over and over and over again in small very controlled doses and they are not your friend or your loved one, they are able to clinically approach you and do that, what he tries to do, but he can't get over the fact that this is his wife and he fucks her several times when he's like, you shouldn't fuck your therapist, but like then immediately has sex with her. And then also he's grieving too. His own son also is dead.
Wrong for a lot of reasons.
I don't even know where I was going with this. More just like I needed to vent about like how irresponsible of a therapist he is.
And we talked about this. This basically boils down to his hubris, and that maybe this is a way that he's trying to deal with his own guilt. There's a whole history that these two have that we're not privy to.
Right. Yeah. We only get the little vignette at the beginning, and then we get like a couple like little minor moments, and then we get the most of them when she's already losing her fucking mind. So
right. There's a scene when they're on the train, like going to Eden, and camera is looking out the train window. We're seeing trees just flowing past, and we're getting like little distorted flashes of like her anguished face, or like screaming, or like little like blink and you'll miss it, stuff like that. And you know, at the time I was focused on that like being her warped perspective and like these things like surfacing in her subconscious, but now I'm thinking like that could also be from Willem's point of view of like knowing what she's capable of, and like maybe she's had a meltdown before, and this is his way of like, I don't know, dealing with it all at once, kind of like if he's at the end of his rope. And
that's an interesting perspective. So you're basically saying that like this experience that we're seeing is him really losing his patience with her.
Yeah. And we do see him lose his patience in that same scene.
Yeah, I pointed it out. I remember.
He's guiding her through this like kind of meditation where she imagines walking to Eden and lying down in the grass, and she kind of pushes back on that. He's like, yeah, lie down in the grass. Yes, on the plants. Yeah, that's like kind of the first indication that this isn't gonna go well.
Exactly. I was like, oh no, he's already losing his. I remember it was like I said, like, oh wow, he lost his patience there. Like, already. But you pointing out that they have a whole history together, I wasn't even thinking about that, because really the movie doesn't. We don't know anything about these two at all. Nope. Period. Like the most we get is the moments when he loses his patience. We can see kind of where his trigger points are, because he loses his patience a bit on the train. He does a really good job maintaining his patience with her with the rock exercise that he did, but like you could tell that he was really like fronting a lot there. Like he was like, it's fine. Look, it's fine. It's an exercise. Don't worry about it. I'm right here with you. And he's like smiling. He's like, hey, we're going to do it. It's going to be great. But then he loses his patience with her again when they're doing the exercise where it's like a role play where he's like, I'm nature, and you know, we're going to explore what makes you scared of that.
Yeah, that was like, such a fucked up, like...
He gives up too. He's like, oh,
he gave up before he started that exercise. I'm nature, your rationality. Like,
yeah, exactly. But like, you could see, like, I learned a lot about him from that. I think, just like, Will is the man who will perform the procedures exactly as they apply in a textbook, and then get frustrated when they don't work that way. Because he's like, role play. That's the thing we need to do. We're going to role play. We're going to role play your fear, and you're going to... And whereas in like a psychology textbook, they'd be like, okay, have the person portray rationality, you portray their fear. But when you're talking with an actual living human being, the way you say that is like, hey, I'm going to do a role play with you. I'm going to kind of embody your fear, and you respond to me with what I say, and I'll respond to you, and we'll go back and forth, and we'll explore together your fear.
Yeah.
But the way he phrases it is so, there's no passion for.
There's almost a chip on his shoulder,
Yeah,
honestly.
he's almost like trying to prove a point to her.
Yeah.
He's clearly like very anti-religion, and he sees her
This guy is a debate me bro on Twitter.
Oh yeah, or a Redditor.
Yeah.
Honestly. But he's like, she said that nature is Satan's church. And we cut to, after that scene, we cut to him like scribbling in the notebook, like trying to parse exactly what she is afraid of based on that.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets frustrated, just kind of closes the book. We see him doing that, and then we cut to the other side of the room and we look at him, and he's sitting right next to her while he was doing that.
Right.
And then he's like, okay, we're gonna do one last thing. We're gonna do a role play. And then after that, that's when everything falls to fucking pieces.
Right. It's clear that the mother has internalized and or projected these ideas. You know, she sees herself as evil, and she sees evil in nature and sees that as kind of reinforcing those beliefs. Because, like I said at the very beginning, her grief and despair and pain, the three beggars, have totally unmoored her from all of the touch points of society. There's a point where if you get too in your head, like, life just doesn't make sense anymore.
Right, because we are sophons. We are obligate sapiens. So sapiens as a concept in evolutionary biology is based on the idea that you have the ability, the capacity to not just understand that you are a separate entity from your environment, but also understand that the environment itself is malleable. Sapiens in a psychological, that, like, we like to think of ourselves as unique because of our sapiens, but other animals display this sapiens. Corvids, for example, have the idea, they have memory. They know, they recognize you. If you fucked with them, they will remember that, and they will fuck with you back. They understand, like, the idea of, like, trading. They don't understand what money is, but, like, they see us giving green paper to other people and getting food, and they will learn, and they will start bringing leaves to trade for food because they understand that this green thing equals food.
Yeah.
That's sapiens. However, the difference between a sapient creature and an obligate sapient creature is that we as humans are incapable of surviving unless we manipulate our environment at this point. We have to skin an animal and wear them to keep ourselves warm. We have to light fires. We have to use tools to hunt. We are no longer capable of existing in a state where we can operate within the bounds of the world itself. We have to manipulate it to survive. That's what distinguishes us right now as animals, because there are no other obligate sapiens left on the world.
Yeah.
All of our other relatives are dead.
Yeah.
So that obligate sapiens in and of itself demands that we make sense of the world that is in and of itself senseless.
Yeah.
There is no divine purpose to things. Even if you believe in the supernatural, like I do, I don't acknowledge that there is some grand design to the entirety of existence. Things just exist. And there's no purpose for their existence, but what's the meaning we give it. And that meaning that we give it is important because our minds are obligated to find meaning, even if there is none. So even though, yes, a lot of these things are based on an artifice of performing to a social expectation, that is important to us because we are a social creature and we have to do that, because when we stop doing that and we get so focused on the brutality or the senselessness of nature, that erodes our will to live, because we are evolved. I was going to say designed, but like designed by our evolution to need that.
Yeah. I think there's like it could be thought of as a kind of faith. Maybe this is in some ways a story about a woman losing her faith in humanity. because like even the most cynical guy who thinks he's being galaxy brain when he says like, oh, meaning is fake, there's no such thing as meaning, like you still have a certain like base level of faith in the way that the world works.
Right. And Willem has a great rebuttal to her this. Now, as her therapist, he shouldn't have said this, but
Right.
as her husband, him saying, well, therapy is not interested in good and evil. These are meaningless concepts, because all therapy is about organizing your mind. And, he doesn't say it exactly like that, but like that's his point. His point is like therapy is about helping you address things and making sense of things. And so good and evil don't matter. It doesn't matter if you're evil. Being able to accept and heal yourself is a universal human trait. Like if society would call you evil, doesn't change the fact that you can still make peace with yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of his point. And I agree with him. I think that the central argument of this film is like, life is meaningless and brutal, but just because of that doesn't mean that you have to give up.
Yeah.
So I kind of find a hopeful message in the core argument, but the conclusion that the film makes, that I don't like. I like the debate the film is having. I do not like the conclusions it draws about that debate.
Yeah, well, what are the conclusions as you see them?
That the meaninglessness of life is the correct answer, that people are evil and that people do deserve death, and that it's actually a good thing that Willem kills his wife and liberates himself from her. But because like as he's walking away, it's the field of the women and then all the women coming up the hill, and like they're all gonna join her. And
also a separate shot as he's leaving of like the bodies appearing, similar to the bodies in the tree roots, but just kind of laid out along the path.
Exactly. And it's like he's realized that there was truth in what she was saying as a character. He's fully been brought over to this cynical, misanthropic mindset about things because he burns her on a witch's pyre.
Yeah. He believes in witches now.
Well, because she says like, oh, this can summon thunderstorms and hailstorms, and it happens. And like, again, unreliable narrator. But if this is a visual representation of a interpersonal crisis of a married couple who lost a child, then what the movie is saying is that Willem has come to her side of things by the end, even if it's horrible, because he has accepted that sometimes brutality is just required. He has to kill. He kills her in a brutal, strangling someone.
Yeah.
As someone who's been strangled, it is a brutal way to kill somebody.
Yeah. And it takes a while. And it's another scene that this movie portrays realistically. What happens to her face and her eyes. Yeah.
I don't like that it concludes that life is meaningless and that just general cynicism about things.
It does seem to be like, I don't understand the last shot at all, but it definitely feels like a very cynical movie.
Yeah. And like the idea that like we're always going to prioritize our own needs over others to the point of letting them die, to the point of like the reality that dawns on her, on Charlotte, that makes her do all of this stuff at the end is that she, even if she didn't really watch him jump out the window, the idea was that I think she was okay with that.
Yeah.
Like in the moment, it meant more to her to have that orgasm than save her son. And that was the truth that she couldn't accept.
Yeah.
That caused her to dissolve into this blubbering mess of babble and of pseudo-religious nonsense.
Right.
She had to grip onto some kind of metaphysical reason why she was like this, and not just accept that, honey, sometimes people are selfish, and it doesn't make you a bad person just because you realized in that moment that you were more willing to accept what was happening to you and not save your son. It doesn't make you a completely irredeemable person just because you had that thought. This movie is basically saying like intrusive thoughts are like revealing things about yourself. Like she like basically she like had a schizo meltdown, fucking crash out over the idea that she had this intrusive thought that maybe she was okay with her son dying because she was more focused on her pleasure. And that feels like an intrusive thought to me, that, you know, we have those, and you let it go. You've been bedridden for what, like fucking 4 weeks in a hospital or whatever, and still grieving. And of course you're going to have intrusive thoughts about blaming yourself. I'm sure you had a lot more others that we just didn't see. I don't know. Like, I don't like the idea that we're just supposed to accept that people are selfish and horrible, and that, you know, life is meaningless, and all this atrocity, the atrocity engine doesn't mean anything, but it's still going to happen because nature is brutal, just like we are brutal to each other.
Yeah.
Because I believe in a generally altruistic way of existing in my life. Like, I have had moments of selfishness and failures as a person, but I also am like not so obsessed with the idea that I'm irredeemable because I've made mistakes and not thought of other people before I did something for myself. Because I don't know, some selfishness is healthy. You gotta think about yourself sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Ari's ranting again. What is Tristan?
No, I don't really have another read on the ending or like conclusions. I mean, in some way, Willem might have like we said, kind of listened to his pain and freed himself, but then like him burning her in a pyre,
and the house too, burning all of it down.
Yeah, and probably the whole forest.
Honestly, like,
but
here's another thing in what I'm saying though. Willem survives because he embraces his self-interest. He up this whole movie, he has been trying to fix her. And at the very end, when he listens to his pain, finds the wrench, gets himself free, he kills her. Yeah. Because he realized that it was her or him. And of course, in that situation, anybody would choose themselves. And the movie's trying to say, well, look at this. Look at him choosing himself. You know, like it's just because, you know, nature's so brutal and horrible, and like look at us just being horrible to each other. You know, like that's the tone that the movie tells me. Like when I'm watching it, I'm listening, and I'm like, this is such Redditor bullshit. Like, you would totally like preserve yourself, you know, if you were in this situation. Therefore, like, you know, all humans are selfish and ultimately but like, honestly, like, how many mothers have like sacrificed themselves for their children, or how many many people have like let themselves die for their friends, or
for strangers,
exactly. Because we are a social species. Like, even if you want to impart a selfish element onto humanity, our sociality is an evolutionary feature of our existence.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Unless there's anything major that you can think of, I think we can kind of wrap up here.
Fuck this movie.
Oh, damn. All right.
I don't even have a star rating for this movie.
Huh.
Because I don't like it. Like, I like it on an aesthetic point of view.
Yeah.
Beautifully shot movie, and the idea of using that black void, I respect artistic decisions.
Yeah.
But the message of this movie pisses me the fuck off. So I don't.
Well, is that what's one thing you liked and disliked? Is that it? No.
Okay. I've got specifics. So
okay.
But I needed to say, like, normally I rate these films.
Okay. Yeah.
And I can't rate this film. I don't know where it would fit, because like on an artistic level, this is like a 5 out of 5 for me. I love how it looks, and how it presents visually.
One of the cool things it does is like when we're looking around at the trees, it has this distortion to it. Maybe it's digital, but it looks like it's shot through a piece of glass that has an imperfection in it. So as the camera moves, you see like that kind of warping.
Portraying anxiety, the way this movie gives a visual language to anxiety.
Yeah. Just real quick, I see like a lot of that in Midsummer.
Which is a movie I really like. So
Yeah. Anyway, what's one thing that you liked, Ari, and one thing that you disliked about Antichrist?
So specifically, as I was saying before, I really liked how it portrays anxiety in a visual. It gives visual cinematic language to anxiety in a way I've never seen another movie do. Honestly, if I was to make films, I would use some of what it does in this movie to portray emotions. I would totally steal the way it does things. You obviously give it your own spin, of course, but like again, if I ever make a movie, I am totally using some of the things that were used in this movie for sure. And I would credit this movie for that, and then I would also say that I hated this movie's message. The thing that I disliked the most about this film was the lack of clarity about what Willem's end goal was with all of this. I kind of just feel like he was making it up as he goes along, and like, you know, like he was trying to get down to the core of her fear. But I wanted more of the bad therapy to be front and center, to show, like, to be more of a focus of like why what he's doing is bad, because we just see like him do a couple of wrong things and then everything goes to shit. And I almost wanted more focus on how bad therapy can make your situation worse.
Yeah.
Because that's what I wanted this movie to be about. That I wanted this movie to be about how there are wrong ways to deal with grief. And instead it kind of just focused on how her pre-existing issues caused the scenario to happen, instead of like focusing on the really bad way that Willem is to blame for this. I don't feel like the movie blames him enough for this. Yeah. That's kind of where I feel like part of why I hate the resolution so much is because he should have just been dead. Like when she pulls him out of the foxhole, he should be done. She should have been dead. And she should have killed herself. And I feel like that would have been more true to what I thought this movie was saying. Yeah. It's a kind of a weird, like more esoteric, like way I'm explaining it, but like I just legitimately don't like the fact that she didn't just kill him, because him surviving kind of like defeats the message that this entire movie is his fault. In terms of like the bad things that happen, like the child
he gets
dying
to be the final girl.
Yeah, he gets to live, and it's like he did this to himself. He should have been fucking dead. She should have killed him and then killed herself, and that should have been how the movie ended. And it would have been just as cynical as the director wanted it to be, but it also wouldn't have like made me feel gross. I don't know. But again, visual portrayal of anxiety, a visual portrayal of paranoia, because it like cuts to like the eye with the same like warped lens thing that's been going on with the trees. Like I feel like when we see the trees in the eye, it's paranoia, and then when we see the close in of them, it's more
showing
anxiety.
The breath and the heartbeat and everything. Yeah.
Anyway, what's one thing you liked and one thing you didn't like?
I really appreciated like how this movie like gets under your skin. It kind of took a while, but once it wriggles in there, like it's
like opening up the lament configuration.
yeah, exactly. One thing that I disliked was, although I love Willem Dafoe and he does a great job here, he didn't have a lot to really chew on.
Very tame. This was a very reserved performance from Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
Because like I don't audience, I don't know how many of you are Willem Dafoe fans, but I love the man's work, and he is known for his freak out. He's like the other, like Nicolas Cage and him are both the two actors that are like known for their freakouts.
Yeah.
And having a movie
just
with
being big and bold with their acting choices.
Yeah, and having a movie where they don't get to have a freakout is like a crime.
It is, at the very least, a missed opportunity. So there's also, like, we could talk a bunch, I'm sure, about like religion. Like, why is this even called Antichrist? Why is it called Eden? But like,
I mean,
we don't have to. I'm just gonna throw that out there that somebody else can try.
Somebody else has.
Parse
I mean,
that.
something. The cynicism of and hatred of humanity, like Christ is the representation of compassion, and the spirit of the Antichrist is a cynical detachment from that compassion. You know, blah 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 blah, pretentious nonsense. I think they just called it Antichrist because it was edgy.
Maybe
that's how
like,
I feel.
Are the women like flocking to him at the end? Are they gonna follow him? Is he the Antichrist? I don't know, man.
Oh shit! You've cracked the code. The seventh trumpet is
because Willem Dafoe he did play the Christ.
He did play the Christ.
Temptation of Christ.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
Oh my fucking god. Honestly, an ironically good double feature for fucking Hellraiser, honestly, because it's we opened up the limit configuration ourselves. We talked about opening the box last week, and then we opened it this week, and goddamn.
This has been Emissaries from the Void with Ari Stell Hawthorne and myself, Tristan Bowersox. New episodes will be released every other week with short bonus content we're calling liminals in the off weeks. The intro music is Now I Hear Little Dreams by Captive Portal, and the outro music is Arcadia by White Bat Audio. You can find us on Blue Sky at Void Emissaries, and remember that's single M double S. You can find Ari as Obscurity on most platforms and me on Blue Sky and Letterboxd as TB McQueen. The latter is where you will find our watch list and suggest movies you'd like to hear us dissect. You can also email us at emissariesfromthevoid@outlook.com to give feedback, alternate takes on the movies we've discussed, questions, suggestions, etc. Emissaries from the Void is a Void Opal podcast produced by TB McQueen Creative. For something completely different, listen to my other podcast, Fan Fiction Theater.
As the world unravels under the weight of an immortal sorcerer's despair,
Tula must confront the man who quite literally stole her heart.
Along with a cunning demon bound to her by desperate choices, she journeys through a land scarred by destruction, seeking to be made whole again before darkness consumes everything. A tale of resilience, reckoning, and the cost of hope. A Bird for a Heart explores what it means to hold on to your humanity when the world demands you let it go. A Bird for a Heart is a fantasy fiction podcast, written and recorded by Michael J. Patrick.
Available wherever fine podcasts are found.